It's a relationship that has pretty much defined the last century. But the story of how the United States and the Middle East got so tangled up doesn't start with war or politics. Nope. It all starts with a single-minded hunt for one specific resource.
So how on earth does a hunt for oil end up setting the stage for 9/11? To really get that, we have to rewind the clock, back to the early 20th century, a time when the whole world map was basically being redrawn.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in the early 20th century. The Middle East, as we know it, has just been sketched out, and way across the ocean, a new superpower is waking up and realizing what's really going to fuel the future.
So check this out. It's kind of a tale of two things happening at the exact same time. On one side of the world, after World War I, you've got European powers like Britain and France just carving up the old Ottoman Empire, drawing these lines in the sand that create the modern Middle East. And at the very same time, the United States was learning a really hard lesson from that very same war. And this was the big light bulb moment. World War I was fought with all these new machines. We're talking tanks, planes, massive battleships, and they all ran on one thing: oil. The U.S. realized that to be a real global superpower from here on out, you needed a secure supply of it. And for the first time, that meant looking east.
And this new focus on oil? Well, it led to one of the most consequential and, frankly, weirdest partnerships of the 20th century. It started out as a super risky American business deal that would eventually turn into what you could call a great oil bromance with a very conservative kingdom.
Okay, so picture this. It all started as this huge gamble. A little oil company from California gets permission from the Saudi king to go exploring for oil in a desert where nobody was even sure it existed. But then, in 1938, bam, they hit the jackpot. Huge reserves. All of a sudden, American workers and their families start flooding into this really conservative place, building these little self-contained American towns where women drove cars and people drank alcohol, things that were totally forbidden in the kingdom. Now, to protect this incredible asset, the U.S. government even built a military airstrip. But the Saudis had one critical rule, and it's a huge piece of foreshadowing. No American flags could be flown on their holy soil.
So the oil is flowing, everybody's getting rich, things are looking great. But hold on. All this new stuff, the oil wells, the new towns, that military base, somebody had to actually build it all. And this, right here, is where the story takes a turn you just can't make up. It seems like such a simple question, right? But the answer casts this long, dark shadow over this entire partnership. Who did they trust to literally build the foundations of the American presence in Saudi Arabia? The go-to guy, the preferred contractor for both the Americans and the Saudi royals, was this brilliant and really ambitious construction magnate. His name was Osama bin Laden. His company was building everything. Now, Osama bin Laden had 22 wives and 54 children. And one of those sons, a boy who grew up literally surrounded by all this American infrastructure his father was building, was named Osama. So while that boy was growing up, the U.S.-Saudi oil partnership was just booming. But America was also getting pulled deeper and deeper into the region for a bunch of other reasons, creating this really messy web of conflicting interests that was about to make everything a whole lot more complicated. Think about it. By the mid-century, U.S. policy in the Middle East was getting pulled in three totally different directions at once. Number one, the top priority. Keep that Saudi oil flowing, no matter what. Number two, the Cold War was raging, so they had to counter Soviet influence everywhere. This even led the CIA to overthrow a democratic leader in Iran in 1953. And number three, they were totally committed to giving massive support to the new state of Israel. As you can probably guess, those three goals did not always play nicely together. And yeah, the blowback was pretty much instant. U.S. support for Israel made its Arab neighbors, including many of its new oil partners, absolutely furious. And they suddenly realized they had a powerful weapon of their own. They could just turn off the oil spigot, and in doing so punish America and cause massive economic pain back home. Okay, so let's jump forward to 1990. All these tensions that have been simmering for decades, they're about to absolutely boil over. A regional crisis is about to force the Saudi kingdom to make a choice, and it's a choice that will put them on a direct collision course with the son of their favorite builder, Osama bin Laden. So here's what happens. Saddam Hussein, the dictator of Iraq, has used his oil money to build the fourth largest army on the planet. He decides to invade his tiny, oil-rich neighbor, Kuwait. And just like that, this massive Iraqi army is sitting right on the Saudi border. The kingdom is absolutely terrified.
Two very, very different offers to protect the kingdom land on the king's desk. On one side, you've got Osama bin Laden, who's now a war hero after fighting the Soviets in Afghanistan. He offers his army of holy warriors. On the other side, you've got the United States, offering the most powerful military machine the world has ever seen. It was a choice between faith and firepower.
The Saudis? They basically scoffed at bin Laden's offer. A prince famously told him, "There are no caves in Kuwait," dismissing his guerrilla tactics as useless against a modern army. For the royals, this wasn't even a contest. They'd already made their choice. They called America. So the Saudis chose American military might. And it was a decision that absolutely saved the kingdom in the short term, but it also unleashed a chain reaction, a domino effect, with consequences that nobody, and I mean nobody, could have possibly predicted. The U.S. response was just overwhelming. A coalition of 38 countries comes in, they completely crush Saddam's army, and they secure Saudi Arabia's border. The partnership was saved. But after the war was over, that vast military infrastructure the U.S. had built, it just stayed there. American troops were now permanently based in Saudi Arabia. And the fallout from this was immense. The royal family got its security blanket, sure, but the price was a permanent presence of non-Muslim troops on the land of Islam's holiest sites. For Osama bin Laden, this was the ultimate betrayal. His country had rejected him for the great Satan. Humiliated and furious, he dedicated all his energy to his new organization, Qaeda, with one goal: to make America pay.
And that brings us to the final thought here. In its pursuit of oil and stability, the United States got what it wanted. Its short-term goals were met. It secured the oil fields and protected its ally. But in doing so, it created the very conditions that would give rise to its most determined enemy. The quest that began with a single oil well had now unleashed forces that would reshape the entire 21st century.